Okay, welcome to the Community Advisory Committee meeting. We are live and recording. In a moment, for any public attendees, I will be putting a post where members of the public can submit comments for this meeting. And if any members of the public have technical difficulty, there'll be instructions as well in the chat of the meeting on how to contact me, Captain Phil Cullum, for assistance in that matter. So with that, Chief and Chairs, it's to you.
Okay, well, I welcome and I'd like to call the meeting to order. The time is 9:50 a.m. on August 6, 2020, and I would like to call this meeting of the Chula Vista Police Community Advisory Committee to order. And in the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the governor's executive order N-29-20, members of the Police Department Community Advisory Committee and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the executive order, the public may view this meeting online only and not in the Chula Vista Police Department's community room. The city launched a virtual community portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their homes. If you would like, you can find the link to the e-comment for this meeting at www.chulavistaca.gov/boards. Your comments must be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the committee time to read any comments that have been received. If you have difficulty or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please email Captain Phil Cullum for assistance at pcullum@chulavistapd.org. So at this time, I would like to ask Kathy Miller to please call the roll.
Member Ray Aragon. Member Martin Barros.
Present.
Member Gustavo Vidart.
Present.
Member Norma Casares.
Present.
Member Patty Chavez.
Present.
Member Takesha Corbett. Member Jose de la Garza.
Present.
Member Henrietta Harp. Member Marla Kincaid. Member Peter Mabry. Member Anthony Milliken.
Present.
Member
Gary Sablon.
Present.
And Chief, if I may, this is Captain Phil Cullum. Just a note for the record that member Henry Harb is online and currently working with technical support to make sure she has a full connection.
And now we'll move to the public comments area. So public comments is a section on the agenda for members of the public to address the committee on items that are not listed on the agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
Chief, the time for comments is almost expired. We are still working with technical support on on committee member Henrietta Harb. And I just wanted to do one more test of audio for Henry. If I could, Henry Harb, I do see you online. It appears that your mic is muted. If you could just unmute your mic and so we can confirm that you can hear us and that we can hear you.
I could hear you.
Great, Henry, welcome to the meeting. Looks like Chief Henry is online and working, and back to you, of course.
And I would also like to recognize that Dr. Corbett is also online now.
Welcome, Dr. Corbett.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so the commenting period for the public comments is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? Captain Collins,
How do you refresh this? Where do you go to refresh the chat?
So the comments are available on a website link. You can access it at chulavistaca.gov/boards, or if you refer to the chat window, I included a direct link directly to the comment site. It's a website, Norma, and then once the website is up, to refresh it, you just refresh your browser like you would any other website, and you can see comments.
Because I have the chat window up, but I don't see.
Norma, you have to go up a little bit higher on the chat to get that link.
I will send another chat here with the link. It is the same link that members of the public can use to add comments, and I just posted it again in the chat window where you should be able to just click the link.
We'll allow time to let everyone do that.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay. Oh no, I got this. I got the submit comment window.
All right, I will make sure here. I'm testing the link myself.
I'm looking at it, Captain Column, and I don't see any comments on it unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right. I don't, for the record, I have no comments submitted there, nor have I received any emails of comments. So to clarify, 0 comments were received via e-comment and no comments were received via email.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So then we will move on to the approval of the minutes from our June 4th, 2020 meeting. This will be the first order of business, is this approval of the minutes. And I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on items on the consent calendar. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. So we'll pause now for the 2 minutes. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments, if any? No comments. Captain Collin, have we received any comments? Please announce the record of the number of comments received in favor or opposed to any item.
Chief, 0 comments were received via e-comment, and no comments were received via email.
Okay, thank you. Do any members have comments or questions on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion on the table to approve item number 1?
So move.
Was that Jose?
Yes.
Okay, so Jose approves, makes a motion for item number 1. Is there a second?
Gary seconds.
Gary Sablon with the second. So please, Kathy Miller, please conduct the roll call for all those in favor.
I will now request each member vote by roll call. Member Martin Barros.
Yeah.
Member Gustavo Vidart.
Yes.
Member Norma Casares.
Yes.
Member Patty Chavez.
Yes.
Member Takesha Corbett.
Yes.
Member Jose de la Garza.
Yes.
Member Henrietta Harp. Henry, can you unmute? Okay, Member Anthony Milliken.
Yes.
Member Gary
Kathy,
Sablon.
if I can interrupt you for 1 second. Henry did get on and state yes. Do you want to re-clarify that with her?
Member Henry. Thank you. And then Gary, was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I have 9 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 not in attendance.
Great, so we've accomplished something today and the minutes have passed. And so now I will move on to my chief's comments. And on the agenda, we discussed about the chief's role in building dialogue. We'll talk about live 911 calls and who we are. So this is the time that I really am excited about being able to speak to you and talk about really some of the amazing things, even through the challenge that we're facing right now, that are taking place. So really, in reality, I have 2 roles as the chief, and some of you may not be aware of what those 2 roles are. The first one is what I do here for the police department and for our community, but the second role is also sitting as the president of the San Diego County Chiefs and Sheriffs Association. And as we talk about communication right now, what I've noticed is there's a lot of not only misinformation, so a lot of people are listening to what's happening in other areas of the United States in terms of policing. And so they're assuming that we're in the same exact situation in, for instance, San Diego County or the state of California. And so we really do have to find a way to put out more information and share what we're doing, what is working, what we need to work on, what we need to improve on, and where we need to build better relationships with the community. So I really think that one of the most important roles I have right now is trying to figure out what that is to get more people involved in the discussion right now. So what I did want you to know is that I'm very excited that through the challenges that we're all facing, I called in, and I think I may have explained this before, but I'll go into more detail. I called in all of our faith-based leaders to have a meeting and have a discussion and work together because, of course, my concerns were for our community. I didn't want our community to be in a situation like La Mesa community was facing. I wanted to make sure that we built relationships within our community. We allowed our community to have a voice wherever they needed to have a voice to say whatever they needed to want to say. But I also wanted us to not have any unlawful acts or people targeted or the vulnerable attacked. And so I have to tell you that I could not be prouder of our community and how we've all come together through these challenging times. And so as I started calling together faith-based leaders, I had an opportunity to meet Pastor Richardson, who I know Takesha knows very well. And he's a Black pastor here in our community out in Eastlake. And we started to have dialogue and conversation that was amazing. And one of the things that he said to me and said to the group that we were meeting with was that there are all these pastors and faith-based leaders in our community, and they might even have a church across the street from each other, and they don't even know each other. And that he leads from the pulpit, and that people come and they hear his message, and they want to hear his message, but that's not where he needs to be. These pastors need to be out on the street communicating and working with people that need them the most. And so it really touched a place in my heart. We started coming together. He invited me into one of the groups, and there's a group of pastors that get together, and the majority of them are Black pastors that come together. Some have been in law enforcement, some not, as Pastor Richardson, and they're from all over the United States. And we meet every Thursday night, and it started a deep conversation about how do we bring open dialogue to the table? How do we help build that bridge, the gap that's out there with individuals in our communities throughout San Diego County, not just Chula Vista, throughout San Diego County. And what we've been able to do is they reached out because, the credibility that we need to gain in law enforcement, we don't always have within the communities of Black and Brown. And so we were working in partnership with them. They were the leaders, not law enforcement. So I was able to pull together all law enforcement leaders in San Diego County, the probation department, all the chiefs, the sheriff, the DA, and we all met together, and they reached out to the community that they felt was most impacted by the challenges of the George Floyd incident and what the national narrative of what is going on. And we came together and we started with our first town hall forum. And I have to tell you, it's very challenging right now when you're dealing with COVID. I do not like this virtual meetings at all, but it's the only option that we have right now. So thanks to Christina and the city of Chula Vista allowed us to use their WebEx platform. And we had the first meeting, and they brought in members from the NAACP, the Urban League, the Neighborhood House. They brought in some of the pastors, Tasha Williamson, Reverend Shane Harris, Bishop Bowser. There were just tons of people who have been involved in activism within the Black community, and we even brought in some students. We tried to reach out to our BLM group here in Chula Vista because we were very impressed with how they put on their march here in Eastlake, and we wanted to hear the voice of our youth as well. We didn't get any luck there, but we did have San Diego City College brought in their associate student president and gave kind of the perspective of the youth as well. So I have to tell you, it was the first step. It was to open dialogue, and it was a listening campaign, and it has created now, we're continuing to meet, and you have to understand, there are some law enforcement leaders who think I'm somewhat a little bit crazy, but we're building and we're trying to get understanding at all levels, and we're trying to take away the defensiveness, and we're trying to have deep listening. And so we created already our first phase of our action plan, and I can't showcase the whole thing because it's still in the development phase, but if you see right here, we have a whole action plan, and through this, we came up with a lot of ideas we took every single person's comments and we looked at where there were levels of misunderstanding and where they didn't even realize that we were already doing some of the things that they were concerned about. And then we looked at what things we did not understand and we needed more dialogue and more information on. We looked at certain things that we said, these things are probably not going to be doable things, and here's the reasons why. And then we also discovered through it that here's the biggest challenge is that I don't believe, and others may not agree with me, but with the Chief and Sheriff's Association, there was definitely an agreement on this. We have not done the best job of being sharing information. Like people, I'll give you an example. The Union Tribune has been putting quite a few opinion pieces and stories in there. And one of them said that it's easier to become a nail technician than it is to become a cop. And so that created a lot of discussion, like, do people really think that it's easier to become, and not that, just so you know, I love my nail technician, so not to discredit someone in their profession, but do they really not understand all the levels and the steps that go into becoming a police officer and the hiring process and the backgrounds and all the things that go into play? So it created with us as chiefs in San Diego County that we need to come up with a forum that we have, South County, East County, and Central, where we can highlight and have our community come in and experience what it is to go through training as an officer, which some of you have a little bit of an opportunity of that, but also to delve in what the requirements are to be a police officer, what happens in a background process. And so with the help of my entire team here, we created an op-ed that we sent in, not defensive, but kind of talking about what it takes to become a police officer and all the certification and levels of training. I believe it's 1,650 hours in the first year that you have to go through to even be able to pass probation to get your certification. And then it's an ongoing process after that. And out of all the people we interview, for every 150 people, only one individual usually is successful through all the challenges that you have to go through with the background. But also what I heard some people act as if law enforcement is uneducated. And here's the challenge, and I won't tell names, but I'll say myself. If we base it solely upon a bachelor's degree, I would have never been hired here at the police department. I didn't get my bachelor's degree until 2013. And so, but I took tons of courses and I went through tons of training and I did all kinds of things. And the department offers an incentive to help you pay for some classes and get there. And so, and also as we look for diversity, would we want to have a minimum that says if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you can't be hired as a police officer? What I look for in people is life experience, the heart, who they are as an individual, what they bring to the table. Have they made mistakes in their life, but have they overcome those mistakes? Have they learned from them? Is there a propensity for them to repeat those mistakes? And then I also told all the community leaders, I'm meeting with another one. I'm meeting with Michael Brunker from the Jackie Robinson YMCA today. But it's the community's responsibility as well to help us find the best, to attract the best, to get the brightest and the most diverse group of individuals that want to be a part of law enforcement. So we have a twofold challenge right now with all the things going on. We have a national narrative, and I'm not saying there's no validity to any of the reasons, but there are even people that think when they listen to what happens back on the East Coast, they think that West Coast law enforcement is under the same, you know, when I hear the discussion on unions and how they think the unions run the police department, I just like to make a clarification here. The union does not run this police department. 100% I do, along with my command staff. And they don't make decisions on who is hired, who is fired, who is disciplined. We make those decisions here, and we're very careful about the individuals that we hire. And we want, it's kind of like being a parent. It's constantly, you have some kids who are perfect and you're like, this is my shining star. You have other kids that I have to watch them. That one needs a spanking. I mean, I don't know a better way of explaining it. We have to constantly keep our eyes open as leaders and managers in this organization. And we have to make sure that we have the right people wearing this uniform, because if we don't, it hurts us. And it hurts us when something happens in another area. So it's very challenging. But Phil, if you wouldn't mind putting up the California Leading the Way campaign for me, I wanted to share this with you as well, and I will be more than happy to send it out to all of you as an email. I sit on the board of directors for the California Police Chiefs Association, and back in June, we took a stance of really wanting to look deeply at everything that we're doing. And so there are many things that we are doing in the state of California right now that are policies and procedures that you're going to see changing within organizations. You're going to see, us in San Diego County, we've long been doing de-escalation, but we've also taken a stance and a philosophy as chiefs across the San Diego County. And we put out a pamphlet that goes out to our officers, kind of a checklist for them to walk through things, to constantly remind them and understand that de-escalation is the best way. Of course, there are circumstances where officers are left with no choice, but you'll see from this whole platform, if you could scroll up a little bit for me, Phil, it's nice to have somebody do that for you. When you look at the use of force policies, we all agree 100%, and it's something that's been problematic, is that we have to report to Cal DOJ information, but if we want it to go to a national database with the FBI, we have to report, and the requirements are different. And we're like, why don't you just have us report all to one repository that is shared on a national database? And so having what they do in New Jersey, the same as what we do in California, is extremely important. And if you don't know, in California, we're very progressive and our requirements are way higher than any other state. And so you'll see many things through here. Like one of the things that we support is we go through the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training. It's called POST. And we are making the recommendation that we have no problem as police chiefs agreeing that we should be able to decertify officers when under certain situations, or when we terminate someone, we want to be able to say that they were terminated and then they pull their certification so they can't continue and move to some other state and become a police officer. So there's a lot going on that people aren't aware of that I think is really important. I do believe that the CAC is the voice of the community that can share when those questions. I know Norma and Gary have received a lot of questions, and I get people calling me, I get letters, and there's been a number. I don't know how many we've received, but I know Kathy and Phil have consistently, when we get a demand letter in, and they're people with the best of intentions, 100%, are very confused, and they look at that 8 Can't Wait Campaign Zero campaign, and they think that we don't meet those criteria. And so we always send out a response to them. We've been able to make connections with people. Phil has done a great job of kind of being my lead in this area and setting up virtual meetings with people, and I get to come in and say hi and talk to them for a few minutes. But we've really tried to make a really concerted effort of making sure that we address issues or questions from our community, and we do it in a very open, unbiased, non-defensive way, because we're not going to gain anything if we're defensive in any of these. There's truly people out there that are concerned, and they're listening to all the discussion in other areas and assuming that Chula Vista Police Department is in that same category. Once we've had those conversations, we usually get nice letters back and saying thank you, and they've sent them to the mayor. I didn't realize that Chula Vista was so progressive in doing these things. So it doesn't mean we're perfect by any means. On that same note, I wanted to push forward to the Cultural Awareness Project, and if you could show that. This is another thing that we're really excited about. I can't take the credit. The DA's office gets the credit. They have an interfaith board that works with them. It's kind of like their advisory board. But this app, once he gets it up, you'll be able to see, is going to be introduced this week to all of our officers. And it's the history of the project kind of goes into the focus that there's so many different cultures within our communities, and that officers have to go into situations where they might not understand the difference in the way a particular culture handles a situation. And we want to give officers more information so they understand. And if you could click forward, go to Phil, there's one where it shows how to download the app. And once I show you that, this will be sent out to you as well. So it's going to be easy. It's on the App Store of Google, and there's a website where it's very easy for you to download it. If you go to the next slide. So you'll see on this that, for instance, if you were to go to someone's house that was from East Africa, Somali, they might have a different perspective of law enforcement based upon what they experienced in Somali. And so you want to understand that with each individual, there is a different perception of law enforcement. And what is our goal? Our goal is to build understanding and trust and to be able to help people when they're challenged and they have issues. I think the next one goes into the Muslim community. And I found this one to be absolutely fascinating, and listened to the imam who had spoke to us about it. But there's things on here about how you would greet someone and what is considered appropriate and what an officer should understand when you go into the household. And that, you know, if you click to the next page, I think it was on there. They said when you visit their household, the eldest male is considered the head of household. Typically, a male will answer the door. The head of the household may ask his wife or his daughter to cover and put on their full dress. If only a woman is at home, it's important to give them sufficient time to cover, and about their dress codes and about how they perceive law enforcement. This stuff is really cultural competency that we want. It goes along with the implicit bias training that we've had. We want to make sure that our officers have all the tools. The goal is to help people in our community and to understand what barriers are out there, and that at times it doesn't mean that they have anything against you personally. It's just what they have grown up with in their communities and how they feel, and to give officers more tools to be able to be more successful out in the field and build those bridges with their community. So we'll send this out to you. I just wanted to share some of the stuff that we're doing. As we move forward now with all the discussion and all the challenges that we face in law enforcement, I think it's more important for us than ever for us to have policies in place, and the policies that our community understands. And so we're taking a deep dive right now, and we're looking. I'm driving my group crazy, just so you know. Eric Thunberg is one of them. Because he's like, Chief, do you understand how many policies we have? I said, I want to see the policies that I think could be of concern to the community. So I'm going through all of these policies right now. Then my goal is for them to be brought back to a core group within our CAC to have your eyes look at some of these policies and see if there's areas of concern, or maybe there's just some wording. Like if you recall, when we had you look at the immigration policy, some of the terminology that was from way in the past was talking and using the term alien. And to me, I always thought an alien was from outer space, so I couldn't understand why we use that terminology. And so the discussion that we have right now is we're looking at everything not as, well, that's the way we've always done it. No, we're looking at things like, is there a better way of doing things, or is it the right way that we're doing it? So we're going to do a refresh throughout the department, and I think that's important, and I do think that's where you come into play. And before I move on to Captain Slee with the Live 911, which I'm so proud of, I want you to know that we're at 86 sworn officers right now that I've hired since I've been the chief, and I would drive Kathy out of her mind if I went back any further, but we 86 in 3.5 years. I want to focus on that. I believe we're at 76 promotions. So when you look at an organization, we've always had a well-respected culture within our organization, but our culture is even changing more right now. And our culture is all about community policing. It's all about engaging our community. Having a 92% citizens satisfaction survey is is huge, but I think we can do better. I think we can engage our community even more. And so there's lots of discussion within our department on what we can do to better engage with the community. When you hear the stories out there about Measure A, and you hear stories about that we can't hire officers and that we have so many vacancies and all this stuff, what I also want you to know, this is a challenging time. We're trying to make sure that we keep our officers, that we don't lose them to go to other agencies, that we have the right wellness in place, that we, right now we have 17 vacancies. Do you understand why we have 17 vacancies? It's not that we're losing all these people. It's because 10 of those are new Measure A positions. It can take us up to 6 months to a year to hire people and start getting them in, 18 months to get a recruit out in the field. If we can hire a lateral, we have to find the right lateral. We can get them out earlier. So there's not this overwhelming problem, but as the narrative becomes negative about law enforcement, I am fearful that, you know, if I'm trying to be diverse and find more, you know, Hispanic officers, try to find more of our, you know, Pacific Islander officers, of our Black officers. Right now, if we don't shine the light on Chula Vista, how am I going to get them interested to come here and continue to build a diverse organization? So this is where we need you. This is where we need you to understand. I encourage you, as you hear conversations, reach out to me. Remember, when you send me an email, it's a PRA-able. Public records request, you pick up the phone and call me, and let's have a deep conversation and look at where you as a CAC member can come into play to help us. And how do we reach out to the community in times where we can't even have a community forum? We can't even have our Evening with Heroes event, which is a real great opportunity to share the story of law enforcement and connect with the community. It's a challenging time for us right now, and I really hope. I'm going to be working with Norma here shortly on, you know, where we go with getting some other members into the CAC. And I just think it's super important for us right now to share the message and have the accurate information and reach out to us whenever you have a question. So we'll do questions at the end, but I will allow Captain Salih, who has been a tremendous asset to us where it comes to our UAS program and what we've done with our Live 911. I think it's important for you to know what we're doing in that program and to understand how technology that we have used in Chula Vista is never used as a surveillance tool, but is always used as a de-escalation tool to help us have better information to keep our community safe. And as we say, if we have more information, we can keep the suspect safe as well, or the individual that we're interacting with. So Captain Salih, I'll throw it over to you.
Roxana, can you hear me?
Is that Maria?
Yes, hi.
Hi,
Sorry.
Maria. Everyone, this is Maria Cachadorian, our city manager. This was a pleasant surprise. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just got out of the dentist office. So I'm sorry I didn't join you earlier, but I just want to take a couple of minutes and introduce myself, and then I'll just kind of sign off because I do need to get going. But again, my name is Maria Cachadorian. I'm the new assistant. I'm the new city manager for the city of Chula Vista. And I just want to take the opportunity to really introduce myself, even though I've been with the city for about 22 years. And I already know a lot of you from my years here with the city. I'm a Chula Vista resident. Been a lifelong resident of the South Bay. And I just want to take the opportunity, just a couple of minutes, to really thank you for the work that you're doing. The work you're doing is even more important these days, as Roxana mentioned. These are really tough times all the way around for everybody. So the more we have a conversation around what those challenges are, and the more opportunities we'll have to try to come up with solutions, because ultimately what our goal is to keep our community safe, and you serve a role in that. So you know, I have an open door policy, but no one can come in right now. So trying to stay connected it's been a challenge. You know, one of the things that I committed to the council when I really went for this position is I wanted to make more of an effort, at City Hall to connect to the community. I personally already feel connected to the community because I've lived here my whole life, but I know the services that we provide, we could do better, and I want to make sure that staff, we are working closer with the community and the people who live here to make sure that we're meeting your expectations. And that right now is a challenge with the way we're having to operate. But, as I mentioned at every manager meeting that I have, 80% of the workforce is still, we're coming to work every day. Our police officers, our firefighters, our public works crews, they've never stopped coming into work. And, they are the essential employees. And so every opportunity I have, I thank them, because I have the opportunity to work from home, even though I do come into the office quite a bit, because it's important for us to be present. I do want to take the opportunity to thank our police department for everything they're doing. And I know Roxanne, her heart and soul is in getting things done correctly and helping our community and making sure that our community is safe. So I feel very fortunate to have taken on this position with having a chief like her and having a community group like yourselves. So I'll stop talking because I know you have a lot to do, but I just want to take a quick minute to introduce myself, and hopefully soon we'll be able to meet in person and really engage even further than what we're trying to do right now. So with that, I'll hopefully I'll be back soon, but I'm in the car right now, so I'm not driving, Roxanne, so I'm parked.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not doing anything wrong. But with that, I'll just let you get back to your meeting, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Well, thank you very much. That was a pleasant surprise, and you're always welcome to attend any of these meetings. I think it's important for the CAC to see that your commitment to the community. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we'll turn it back over to Captain Salee.
All right, thanks again. Good morning to the CAC, and thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to share another piece of ongoing technology that CVPD has developed and is really groundbreaking and leading the way. But just to backstop this with emphasize what the chief talked about is every piece of technology that we engage with is to better serve the community and to better deliver police services, specifically for giving the best information to our officers so that they have better call outcomes. And so we look at ways we can de-escalate the incidents that we're involved with. And so the thing I'm going to talk about today is called Live 911. And essentially the technology allows our patrol officers to hear the 911 call live streamed to their car within a certain distance from their car. Say they can geofence it to a mile radius around their car, and they can hear the 911 call come in. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a dispatch center, but it's fairly stressful. People that call 911 are under a tremendous amount of stress, and they're really struggling to get information out. And so little cues like the tone of their voice or little things that they may say don't get communicated always to officers in the field. The dispatchers do an amazing job, but there's only so much you can do as you listen and you talk and you type simultaneously. And invariably, there's a loss of information that's really critical to the officers. It might be so much as just hearing the tone of terror in a domestic violence victim's voice might indicate a higher level of urgency to somebody, or a robbery that just occurred at a convenience store that the officer just passed literally 2 blocks ago, and they can do a U-turn while the call is coming in before it's ever entered into the computer. So it really is a groundbreaking technology that Chief Kennedy has supported. We're, again, the first in the country to have this technology. The company that developed it here at Chula Vista PD as a pilot program is called Higher Ground. And they have produced a video that'll tell you more about how it works better than I can. And so if Captain Collum could cue that up, we'll play the video, and then I'll answer questions afterward.
So for the video that I'm going to play, depending on your internet connection, it may or may not come across choppy, or the audio may or may not come all the way across. We're going to go ahead and play it through. It's just about 3 minutes long, and then Captain Salee can discuss it.
It's very choppy. You know what we can do? Can we send it to them, Bill, and let them view it at home after the meeting?
Yes.
And please don't ever freeze my face in that position again.
I'm sorry, really. Let me get rid of that. Stop sharing. My apologies. Yeah.
Captain Slee, that might be better because it's missing the whole message. And the goal for them is to see how, for instance, my example is if somebody calls us and they're being attacked in the Costco parking lot. In the years past, sometimes people would be upset and they're not giving you all the details because they're traumatized. And you'd be driving all around Costco to realize they were in the far north side of the Costco parking lot. This can get us within a couple feet of their actual location. So it means the officers could get there quicker. At the same time, hearing all those behind the scenes comments, what's happening, what the person is saying, and it helps officers formulate a better plan, which is a part of de-escalation. Prior to them arriving there, they have more information, more knowledge. And it's amazing. And this was all developed through one of our former captains who came up with this concept. And then because we push innovation initiatives at Chula Vista PD, all about what we can do for public safety, this is why this was developed by this company. And we've been the beta tester. We're the only department in the United States that was testing this program. It was created right here at Chula Vista and is now this whole marketing little message that they put out will be sent out through the United States, and it's going to continually share Chula Vista PD and who we are.
And Chief, if I could just state, I will send that link out where members of the committee can watch it. And in addition to any members of the public, we will also make sure that that link is included in the minutes so that members of the public can view the video as well.
And if I could ask a question of Carol from the Brown Act perspective, if we don't have any attendees, any public comments on our meeting, do I still need to read have the 2-minute phase? You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, Chief, please do. I think we have one person as an attendee.
Oh,
So-
okay, great. I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I will go ahead and I have no further comments. I know that there's the Who Are You is listed there, but that's the brochure that we had already sent out to you. And if you need that, we will provide it to you again. And in fact, if you need some of the brochures that you'd like to have with you as a CAC member to hand out when you have discussion with the community, I think that would be a great idea. We just ordered 1,000 of them. So if you need any, please let us know and be happy to provide them to you. It does talk about the 8 Can't Wait Campaign Zero, and it talks about those 8 categories that everyone is putting out in regards to demands. I am very proud to tell you that we do meet all their 8 demands. And the only one that we had changed in the beginning, I believe it was of June, was that the San Diego County Chief and Sheriff's Association all agreed unanimously to ban the carotid restraint. So therefore we meet all of those categories and we're awfully proud of that. So before I entertain any questions, I'm going to go ahead and allow the public an opportunity. So I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. It's a long 2 minutes. Norma, can you see the screen with the countdown?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our 2-minute period is over, so the commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments?
There were none.
There weren't any.
Okay, so Captain Collin?
Right. For the record, 0 comments were received via e-comment, and in addition, no comments were received via email.
Okay, so hopefully, Carol, I'm not doing something wrong, but I wanted to offer the committee to ask any questions or make any comments after my chief's comments.
Chief, that's,
Oh, you're muted.
you try that again. Chief, we do have a committee member comment at the very end. I don't know if that's just sort of general around the room, but you certainly are welcome to, since we've just covered a lot of information, to ask the members for their comments on what you've covered so far.
Okay, would anyone like to make a comment?
Yes, I would. Can you hear me?
Henry? Yes, Henry,
Yes.
go right ahead.
You know, the first flyer you showed us, do you think it's possible to distribute that flyer like in the Star News for people to see?
Actually, what I've done right now, just so you know, I spoke with the editor of the Union Tribune yesterday, Jeff Light, and I have set him up with the California Chiefs Association president, and they're working on hopefully a story that will be submitted in regards to questions about what we're doing as chiefs across, there are 332 chiefs at place in the state of California, and we are looking to California to kind of be the leader across the nation. But what I will do also is we'll post it on our website so that you guys will have that information, and we'll do something with social media as well. And then hopefully you'll be able to share that with people who may have had questions or asked you things so they can start seeing the discussion and things that are going on. But my hope is that the op-ed that we all worked on will go out. They said that they're about 2 weeks behind, and that we're going to continue kind of an opportunity to share on a regular basis, to answer questions, to make sure the community is receiving information about what strategies, like we'll be doing a whole story on the action plans with the community leaders and activists in regards to some of the discussions on our town hall forum. It doesn't happen overnight. And so sometimes people get frustrated, it doesn't happen quick enough, but it's hard when you have all the law enforcement leaders in San Diego County at one table. At times I say it's like herding cats.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yes, this is Norma.
Hi, Norma.
A couple of things, Chief. The first group that you were talking about that you met early on,
Yes.
Is there a name to that group, or did you guys
Stand in the Gap is the
Stand-
name, Stand in the Gap. And it's Pastor Richardson and Pastor Balmer, Barmar. I can connect you to them if you would like. And they have been, like right now, somebody has a lot of background noise. I'm not sure who it is, but they are really trying to reach out to figure out what segments of the community that we need to pull in. So right now they've really concentrated on the Black community, but I know in our community, we have 61% Hispanic in our community. So we, that's, I think, where you can come into play and you can help. Like I just met with the Human Relations Commission. I'll be talking to South Bay Forum, and we have to find a way to reach out to our community to answer questions and address issues that are somehow getting out there and they're not accurate.
Okay, and you've met with them, and that group has met a couple of times or one time or?
So the Stand in the Gap group, they meet on a regular basis,
Okay,
but they were the ones who reached out to the NAACP, to, you know,
okay.
all the activists. So they've been phenomenal.
Okay, and one more question, Chief. You were very clear about the Chula Vista Police Department and how you as chief have control as to who gets hired, who gets fired, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
As you know, one of the big things out there right now is accountability amongst law enforcement officers and that. So, and I know that there are some collective agreements with union contracts and that, not here necessarily, but, you know, other parts of the nation where discipline issues, behavioral issues, termination issues are actually deleted from an officer's, you know, from their personnel. So they can actually get hired somewhere else and you may not be fully aware of it. Is there a way you can find out if there's, because I know that, because I know for sure that no one hates bad cops more than good cops. So if you want a bad cop from coming in, do you have a way of knowing whether that individual is a good cop or a bad cop?
Well, that's what the background process is. And so I think so it's incumbent upon who you have as your background investigators. And so I think we should put this on the agenda for an upcoming thing, but just to answer your question, there are layers at our department that it goes to a background investigator. It goes to 2 sergeants and 1 lieutenant in the background unit. Then it goes through every single captain before they ever come to me. And something that is unique about our department, I believe, is that nobody is hired at this police department without sitting down with me for more than 1 hour. Most of my interviews are 1 hour at least. And it's a deep dive into getting to know that individual and the heart of that individual. Some agencies are so big and it's challenging because the chief meets them, or sometimes the sheriff, at graduation. And I think that's a process within our organization that is the foundation. I mean, when I have an issue with someone, the first thing I do, go look at that background, because that background is 100% the most fundamental thing that we do. And if you didn't find out that they came from another agency and what happened, then shame on you. So, but we can do a deep dive in that. I know there's a lot of discussions. I sent to you the MOU, which if anyone wants to look at our MOU, you can go on the city HR webpage. It lists all the MOUs. But there are strong unions in some other parts of the country. And I'm not saying our union isn't important, but their job is to protect the rights of the officers, usually through discipline, or usually when an officer's injured or hurt. They're always looking to protect the rights of the officers, which we encourage. We want that. I want, bring in all the attorneys you need, because we know that we're going to do the right thing. And so I'm not burdened. Anybody who knows, if you ask the union if they think they run this department or I do, I'm sure you will get a very direct response. So, but we have a good relationship. I tell our union it's as much their responsibility for us to promote, keep morale high, to keep our officers focused, to do the right thing. I tell them if there's an issue, you bring it to us immediately. Don't let it fester into something that becomes a huge problem. And I commend my team of captains. They're constantly making sure, addressing, following up, dealing with things, and knock on wood, I mean, we're doing okay. So anyway, but we can put that on the agenda for next time and delve into it a little deeper, because I know you guys are being asked questions and I'd like you to have more information. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, Chief Gary Sablan here.
Hi, Gary.
I was very interested to hear about the cultural awareness project that you had mentioned and the brochure that's being put together. Where are you at in terms of rolling that out to our police officers?
So today I'm talking with my captains, which will be rolling it out. But you can go on it too. You can download the app yourself and have that and be able to show people when you talk in the community. It's not private. It's not only for law enforcement. The DA's office worked with their Interfaith Advisory Board to come up with this. They've been working on this for like 4 years, and it's phenomenal. And I think it might also be something that will help people understand other cultures better themselves, because that's part of the problem, that we all need to take the effort to understand each other. So it will be going out later today, and the officers will be able to download it and have that as a resource.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chief, this is Gustavo. Just for clarification, was it Captain Collin that's going to also forward us the link, or at least the name again, for us to go get it on the App Store?
Yes, I'll have Captain Collin do that for you.
Yeah, we're actually going to, in the minutes, we're going to send out the attachment, that PowerPoint presentation, which includes the App Store information as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I think it's a great tool, not only for the law enforcement, but just for everybody to have in general.
Absolutely.
To understand the differences.
I believe I'll be talking with the DA about, she did all the work. I think they should put it out, and the media, it doesn't need to come from the Chiefs Association, but she's going to put it out to the public. So everyone will be hearing about it soon, but you'll have it first.
Yeah, I took a class like this at USD in my School of Business, and how do you conduct business with different cultures? And it was eye-opening.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
I'm very impressed with the effort they put into this. Okay, we're getting late on time, and I know I still want Joseph to talk about Sandak because we missed him last time. Does anyone else have any pressing questions, or can I move on to Joseph? Okay, so we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is item 3, the Sandag report, and this is the annual crime statistics for 2019. So Joseph, I don't know how long it's going to take, but hopefully you can do it relatively quickly, and then we'll have questions at the end.
Not a problem, Chief. I'll plow through it, and hopefully if there's questions, I can answer them relatively fast. Good morning, committee members. I'm going to present the information that was published by Sandag in a report on annual crime statistics for 2019. I'll focus my discussions or some of the points mainly on what's changed between 2019 and 2020, just to put things in perspective, because I think COVID made some change on the behavior of the community. So can we go to the next slide? In bigger terms, or in larger terms, the violent crime rates are compared against that per thousand population. So here is 2019's performance compared to other agencies within the region. So as you can tell, Chula Vista is below the violent crime rates compared to other parts of the region, as well as property crimes. So Chula Vista continues to be a very safe community. Next slide. In regards to violent crimes, I want to just put a little bit of emphasis on the homicide and the robberies, only because in 2020, the data shows that there has been a substantial change, in particular homicides in Chula Vista for 2020. Although 2019 has 3, in 2020, we now have 8 year to date. There is no necessarily pattern identified per se, but it is a nationwide situation that's going on, and a lot of it has to do with, and this is just based on what we are able to gather, COVID-related tensions between, just being isolated and having confrontations with individuals, and potentially the purchasing of guns, higher rate of purchasing of guns. In regards to rape, rate is down, as you can tell, and 2020 continues to be down. Robberies for 2019, they were slightly higher than 2018. This year, 2020, they have gone up. They're about trending at 322. This is about 21% higher than 2019 and 26% higher than 2018. Mainly, this is at the beginning of the fiscal year for 2019. For 2018, there was a pattern of juvenile activity that they seem to be basically robbing individuals in the right of way. Aggravated assaults, just so you know, is trending a lot lower than 2019 and 2018. So I won't go too much into that. Can we go to the next slide, please? Property crimes, again, I want to highlight just those things that have changed since the COVID situation. For 2019 burglaries, they were down by 17%. However, in 2020, they seem to be trending higher. If we follow the same trend right now, we'd probably be 4% higher than 2019, but it's still lower than 2018 by 14%.
Joseph, if I could add on that, what we're finding is that there are more commercial burglaries than there are residential burglaries. And that has to do with people being home right now.
That is correct, Chief. And that's actually what I was going to mention, that, yeah, it seems to be focused on commercial properties and probably because they're close, right? So they're an easy target. There is no relative pattern as to what type of property is being stolen. So I think it's an opportunistic environment right now. Larceny continues to be dropping, and motor vehicles are trending about 2018 figures compared to 2020.
And Joseph, if I can add one more thing, I'm sorry, but on larceny, on the thefts, you have to understand that the threshold is $950. And so you don't go to jail on a misdemeanor. And so in a lot of these cases, some of the stores sometimes aren't even reporting because they feel like they don't have the ability to have anything done. So it's kind of a frustrating situation that we're hopeful that we're able to do something. And we're not talking about individuals who are going into a store and stealing, diapers or food. We're talking about the criminal element that's going in and stealing electronic items, and they can steal quite a few TVs now at a point where it doesn't become over $950 and it's still considered a misdemeanor, and it's very challenging. So just wanted to make you aware of that.
Yeah, and if you want to know, larceny is going down by about 21% compared to 2019 figures. So we're roughly about 1964. That's the trend, at least. Next slide. So this information on proactive prevention, this is just offered by SANDAG, just to give you a perspective of what 2019 looked like. Next slide. Again, additional information provided by SANDAG. They compile this information directly from our net RMS systems. Chula Vista does have an issue with domestic violence. We had a high month of May, but now it's trending lower for the months of June and July. The statistics show that the numbers of domestic violence related calls have dropped a little bit less than the average between 2017 and 2019. So although it's still a high count, it's not a spike that we're seeing, or at least a trend higher.
And Joseph, if I could add something on domestic violence. So the interesting thing down the road will be whether when they released some of the restrictions and then more people got out a little bit more, if domestic violence then went down, and then when restrictions went back into place, if it increased again. So I will be interested with SANDAG here in the near future when they really look at the results of COVID and if there were impacts to crime and social disorder based upon that.
Okay, and with that, that ends my report on the SANDAG report.
Okay, before we have any questions, does the staff have any comments that they'd like to make before we go to public comment and discussion? And do any members have any questions for staff? Okay, then I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. Anna would like to add right now, it is 11:01, and for all that information that we got in, that's actually pretty good. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? And Captain Collin, I might add it. Are there any comments?
Chief, no, 0 comments were received via e-comment and 0 comments were received via email.
Okay, thank you. And then we've made it to the last item, the overview of the process for new members and nominations. And as I had mentioned to you before, that we do have a vacancy and we do have a couple members that have not been able to attend. And so I wanted to have Captain Collin provide some comments and a quick presentation before we end today in regards to the nomination committee process.
Thank you very much, Chief. And I can do this real briefly. I know there was an inquiry earlier from one of our members sort of about public participation and how we can engage our public. And I just wanted to say, as the Chief talked about and as our City Manager, Maria Kachdourian, mentioned, this committee and your work is absolutely invaluable to this organization, but more importantly, invaluable to the entire community, quite honestly. This is one of our primary connections to the community writ large, and also our primary connections where there are, where there are questions or even challenges for the police department. And we need our involved, active community members, including folks like that are here, but also folks out there in the community. It's been a long time since this committee has existed. And a lot of the members in the committee have served certainly a long time. We recognize that times change and sometimes our abilities to participate change and ebb and flow with our other commitments. But there's certainly a lot of people as well in the community that would, I'm sure, love to participate and would be a great benefit. We currently have 12 members, official members of this committee. According to the bylaws that were passed by this committee, we can have no more than 13, which means we do have at least one vacancy currently. And so we ask you to just be on the lookout. I mean, everybody here knows people that are part of the community that might be great, wonderful additions to this advisory committee and provide great advice, recommendations, input, communication, and even challenge the police department to serve a better role, continue to improve our role and our relationship and trust with the community. The chief of police is the appointing authority, but there's any member of the advisory committee can nominate somebody basically for consideration for appointment. And there's not necessarily a specific process outlined in the bylaws for how that appointment may be made, except that the chief is the final appointing authority. However, we've certainly seen circumstances where there have been discussions with members of the committee, combined with members of the committee and the chief, as well as discussions with the potential applicant, somebody who may be interested. We are really interested in seeking, we're not interested in only one single voice in the community. We are seeking a diversity of backgrounds and a diversity of voices for this community because we are a very diverse community. All members of this committee serve a minimum of 2-year terms. And then there is the possibility of extensions beyond that up to a maximum of 5 extensions. So that's basically a total of a maximum of 10 years for any committee members. For all the members that are currently on the committee, your official term, even though you've been on this community a long time, we enacted the bylaws in September of 2018. And according to the bylaws, your official terms began, your first two-year term began in September of 2018. So everybody here has got a long time before they risk getting kicked off the committee through terming out. But again, we recognize that times change, commitments change. And if you feel that you just honestly aren't able to make the commitment that perhaps you once were, understand as well that there are, I think, a number of people in our community that in the decade or so since this committee's existed have become voices in the community for a number of reasons, or voices for the city and its residences, businesses, and visitors. And we welcome those names in terms of consideration for this committee. So that's really overview the process. The process itself is fairly non-specific, but the important thing is any member can nominate somebody, and we encourage you to bring your suggestions directly to the Chief of Police or through me as well. Thank you, Chief. Chief, I'm going to unmute your microphone for you here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Phil. Does staff have any comments that they'd like to make before we go to public comment and discussion? Or do any of the members of the CAC have any questions for staff?
This is Norma.
Go ahead, Norma.
Captain Column, 2-year terms. Is that a maximum? That's it? Or can members be reelected or reappointed?
No, Madam Chair. It is your commitment as a member begins with a 2-year term, but it need not end at a 2-year term. After the end of the conclusion of 2 years, members can be extended beyond the 2 years for another 2 years, basically. So that's one extension. And members are actually allowed up to 5 total 2-year terms. So a total of 10 years. So no, 2 years isn't it. And there's nothing in the bylaws that requires a vote to extend or to continue terms or anything like that. It is just, again, a maximum of 10 years, but we'd like for people to commit for at least a minimum of 2 years.
So for clarification for Norma, she has until 2028. Correct?
That's right. The end of your first term will be September of next year, and then you got a good 8 years beyond that.
Right. No, I just wanted you to clarify that. But at the same time, I also want to reiterate too that, we've had, members have been a part of the group for a while, and absolutely if they feel that they can't commit to this and attend the meetings regularly, absolutely let us know. And then that way, could open up another seat. And of course, we're going to thank everyone for their service. And then once this is all over, we'll have a party at my house.
Yes, that would be very nice. Thank you, Norma. Any more comments or questions? Okay, I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. I don't know if you've all noticed today, but I've had to go to glasses. That's the sad day when you cannot even get 22 font to work for you, okay? The commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? And I'd like to move to ask Captain Collum, would he please announce for the record if there were any comments?
Thank you, Chief. Sorry, it gets buried behind the multiple screens I'm using here. Chief, for the record, 0 comments were received via e-comment and no comments were received via email.
Okay, thank you. So now is the time for the committee discussion on items. Did the committee members have any comments? I think we're talked out, huh?
No, this is Norma again. Just want to thank you, Chief, for your leadership in reaching out to members of the community that absolutely, and trying to get their input on different ways that we can positively impact our communities with all this craziness going on, the various craziness. So I personally want to thank you just for having the heart and the soul to reach out to the various members in our communities. I wasn't familiar with some of these, like Stand in the Gap. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now with the Cultural Awareness Project as well. It seems to be something new. Is it brand new?
It's been worked on for about, I believe it's 4 years.
Okay.
And the DA's office just finalized it along with their interfaith group. They presented it to the Chiefs Association yesterday. And it was, we've already seen it before, but now it's finalized. But they actually brought up information at the meeting. One of the chiefs said, hey, we don't have our Native American culture included in there. So it will be an ongoing addition. So they'll be working on that to add that aspect. So as we continue, we don't want anyone to feel left out. It's all about sharing and inclusivity and trying to give officers as much information as possible to connect with the community. So it has not been as I mentioned, it has not been introduced publicly yet. You are receiving it before others.
Okay.
My officers haven't received it yet. It's going out today. So it's kind of cool that you got the first look at it.
Okay, great. And because, these are really important, and I think it's really important for our community to also be able to access this and be able to go on the Chula Vista PD page and say, wow, here's a link to this thing, on this.
Right.
And so then they see, okay, then we do have if not totally progressive, but in a good word, because sometimes progressive is seen as a bad word, but that we're trying to stay on top of things and certainly are taking the community's best and keeping the community's best interest in mind.
Right.
And even the Live 911, I think that's important to put out, that we're the first in the county and why it's important.
First in the country.
I'm sorry, in the country. You're right, first in the country. And it's important that the public realize why it's important to have a Live 911. Hearing, the trauma, hearing, the urgency in someone's voice and trying to get someone over there quickly. So, I think it's important that the more, sometimes say what's too much information overkill. No, I think this is important, particularly given our times right now. So thank you for sharing that. And hopefully there's some way that we can technically get it available to the public as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Chief. I just wanted to comment on, I had called Kathy regarding a light in the Hilltop Park. It was a very dark area there, and there were homeless people sleeping under the bushes. Immediately, she contacted me with a lady named Sarah. Sarah was out here the following day checking out the whole situation, and then she sent out the homeless team. I just can't thank you enough, because the people in the neighborhood right here were watching, and they just couldn't believe how fast everything happened. And they were really excited about all the attention that this brought from you guys. So that was really give them all a pat on the back for us.
Well, Sarah's a part of our community relations unit, and so they work directly with the homeless outreach team. And so, understanding that it's not against the law to live or sleep in the park, what they do, though, is they find the ability to get them the resources they need. And hopefully, we'll be having a homeless shelter here in Chula Vista in the near future. And our homeless outreach team, you know, as I hear some of the discussion, it's in regards to cops shouldn't have anything to do with homeless or homeless outreach. And I wish that people had an opportunity to see all the great work that our homeless outreach team does in lifting people up. The goal is not to incarcerate the homeless, it's to get them off the street and productive in society so that we don't continue to go to call again. So I appreciate that you notice that how attentive they are, and they really truly do care about trying to make Chula Vista a better and safer place.
They did. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Okay, well, hearing no other comments, it is 11:18 a.m. and I will be adjourning this meeting. The next scheduled meeting of the Police Department's Community Advisory Committee will be Thursday, October 1st of 2020 at 9:30. We had changed it instead of going from August to September, so hopefully that's not an issue for anyone. And then we'll put on the docket for the next meeting, the discussion on the MOU. And is there anything else that anyone was interested in? Please reach out to Captain Collum or myself, and we'll make sure to get that information on the agenda. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate, this is the new way of doing things for right now, so it is challenging. I didn't know if anyone else had any comments, any of my staff. Carol? Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting and have a wonderful week, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Bye-bye.
Keep up the good work.
Bye-bye.